One of the moments on the front lines of the battle made Russians have erupted furiously at viral footage of a devastating Ukrainian drone strike on a convoy of trucks, deemed the latest example of incompetence at the higher levels of Moscow's bloody offensive. Video circulating Telegram shows the moment Ukrainian drones smashed into the convoy carrying 100 conscripts in Russia's Kursk region, leaving one truck in flames as smoke billowed high into the sky. Aerial drone footage shows how the military column tried to disperse as Ukrainian kamikaze drones continued to pelt them with strikes, hunting them down one by one along the road through open fields. A Russian mill blogger writing to an audience of more than 300,000 lamented, "Just last week I wrote about the movement of military columns 8 kilometers from the border. Since then, nothing has changed except that the columns have become longer. It is the third year of the war." A convoy of 15 trucks was reportedly taken out by FPV drones 2 miles from the Ukrainian border with Russia's Sumy region. It was unclear how many casualties were created in the strike. Roman Alekin, a self-described social analyst and military volunteer, wrote to some 130,000 subscribers that Russia must look for different logistics routes and split up groups, even if the distance is greater. The attack appeared to be carried out by Ukrainian drones. Until now, Ukraine's Western allies have supplied weapons to Ukraine on condition that they are not used to fire into Russia. Tensions have escalated, with new footage also showing what is believed to be the first major use of Western-made weapons to destroy targets in Russia. It is believed the Ukrainian military struck a S-300 or S-400 air defense system using US-supplied high-mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS, and completely destroyed it in a devastating attack earlier this week. Russia responded via Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, threatening the US with fatal consequences for miscalculations. The Kremlin today warned that Western Army instructors training Ukrainian soldiers in the country would have no immunity from Russian strikes, the latest development in the spat since the US gave permission for Ukraine to use some of its donated weapons in Russia. Any instructors who are engaged in training the Ukrainian regime do not have any immunity. It does not matter whether they are French or not, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. The US allowed Ukraine to use certain American weapons for strikes into Russia to help fend off the reopened Russian offensive in the northern city of Kharkiv, but stopped short of greenlighting the use of ground-launched ATACMS missiles, delivering devastating long-range blows. Last month, Russia reopened its advance in Kharkiv region and quickly captured several villages, while Ukraine has struggled to repel the attack, despite the US offering an additional $275 million in military aid. However, Russia's push did see the US concede the restrictions placed on only using its donations on Russian targets within Ukraine, for the first time permitting attacks on the other side of the border. The hallmark of our engagement has been to adapt and adjust as necessary, to meet what's actually going on the battlefield, to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs, when it needs it, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said last Friday. Days later, the developments follow comments from British Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron, who said in May that he would support Ukraine using British-supplied missiles as it saw fit. "We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things, but let's be absolutely clear. Russia has launched an attack into Ukraine, and Ukraine absolutely has the right to strike back at Russia," he told reporters during a visit to Kyiv. Currently, Russia continues to lose equipment at a vast rate in its full-scale invasion, according to Ukraine, whose latest figures suggest that June is on track for its biggest monthly losses of artillery systems for the whole war. Data from Ukraine's defense ministry showed that in May, Russia had lost 1,160 artillery systems, the highest total for a month since Vladimir Putin started the invasion on February 24, 2022. It was the first time the figure had breached four figures and was well clear of the previous highest of 947 from September 2023. So far, it looks like June will surpass that monthly record, with artillery losses in the first 9 days already reaching 453, a rate if extrapolated over the month would equal 1,510. But as of Monday, the total Russian artillery losses for the war had reached 13,644, closing in on the milestone of 15,000. The tracker website Oryx, which draws on verifiable imagery, has counted losses of towed artillery of 372 and self-propelled artillery losses of 757, although the amount of equipment destroyed is significantly higher than recorded. Russian troop losses continue to climb, reaching 519,750 troops on Monday after Kyiv reported there had been 1,190 Russian casualties the previous day in figures which include both the dead and wounded. Meanwhile, the S-400 and S-300 systems that were attacked by Ukrainian troops on Sunday night reportedly stopped working immediately in the strikes near Junkoy, Kornomorsky and Yevpatoria on the occupied peninsula. None of our missiles fired were intercepted by the enemy's highly effective air defense, the General Staff said without specifying the consequences of the attack or what weapons were used. It follows unconfirmed reports that Ukrainian drones targeted Russian vessels in the Sea of Azov, where a sizable part of Moscow's Black Sea has been transferred following repeated strikes on ships and infrastructure in Sevastopol. Dnipro, spokesperson for Ukraine's Southern Defense Forces and the Navy, told Ukrainian television Monday that Russia has started using submarines to patrol the Black Sea and Sea of Azov. A day earlier, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Russia's advance in the Kharkiv region has stalled. Moscow's momentum in the northeast of the region bordering Russia focused Washington's mind on allowing American weapons to strike Russian territory. Sullivan said the region was still under threat, but Russians have not been able to make material progress on the ground in recent days.